Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness in the wrong places. They believe it lives somewhere in the future, after the promotion, after the relationship, after the house, after the moment when everything finally falls into place. But that moment never comes, because happiness is not a destination, it is a practice, and like all practices, it begins not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but right now, in this very breath. In this video, I am going to share with you 8 core secrets, not theories, not empty affirmations, but deep, time-tested principles that, when lived with sincerity, will begin to shift the quality of your daily experience from the inside out. Stay with me until the end, because the final secret is the one that holds all the others together. If this kind of wisdom speaks to you, subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon so you are notified every time a new video is released. Now let us begin. There is a quiet danger that lives inside the human mind. It is the habit of counting what is missing. We wake in the morning, and before the day has even begun, the mind reaches for what is lacking, the thing we do not have, the person who is no longer there, the life we imagined but have not yet lived. This habit is ancient. It kept our ancestors alive, always scanning for threat, always measuring what was not enough. But in this age, it does not serve us, it drains us. It empties the cup before we have tasted what is already in it. Gratitude is the antidote. Not the shallow gratitude of polite words, but a deep and sincere turning of attention from absence toward presence, from lack toward abundance. When we practice this turning deliberately, something shifts in the mind. The brain, which is far more adaptable than most people believe, begins to rewire itself. It begins to search for the good the way it once searched for the threat. This is not fantasy. This is how the mind responds to consistent intentional practice. Begin small. Take a single moment each day, in the morning before you rise, or in the evening before you sleep, and name 3 things for which you are grateful. Not grand things. The warmth of sunlight through a window, the sound of rain, a meal eaten in peace, a body that carried you through another day. Write them down if you can. The act of writing makes the feeling more real, more rooted. Over time, this practice does not just change your mornings, it changes the lens through which you see everything. A mind trained in gratitude does not deny hardship, it holds hardship alongside beauty. It says this is difficult, and life is still a gift. That balance is not weakness, it is one of the deepest forms of wisdom a human being can cultivate. There is a teaching that is easy to overlook in a world that celebrates solitude and self-sufficiency. It is this: no person awakens alone. Even the monk who sits in silence on the mountain was carried into this world by another human being, was fed, was held, was taught to speak. Every breath of independence we take is built upon a foundation of connection. To forget this is to misunderstand the nature of human life entirely. The research of modern science and the wisdom of ancient Dharma arrive at the same conclusion. Deep, meaningful relationships are among the most powerful sources of joy available to a human being. Not the relationships of convenience or habit, but the ones where you are truly seen, where you can speak honestly and be received with care, where silence between 2 people carries no tension, only ease. These connections do not form by accident. They require investment. They require presence. And presence is precisely what most people withhold. We sit across from someone we love, and our mind is elsewhere, on the task unfinished, the message unanswered, the worry circling at the edges of our awareness. We hear their words, but we do not truly listen. Listening is an art. It means setting down your own thoughts long enough to fully enter another person's experience. It means resisting the urge to respond before they have finished. It means letting what they say actually land inside you. Forgiveness, too, is part of this. No relationship of depth exists without friction, without moments of misunderstanding, of hurt, of disappointment. The question is not whether conflict will arise. It will. The question is whether you will allow it to calcify into distance, or whether you will soften, reach across, and choose the relationship over the wound. Forgiveness is not surrender. It is the most courageous act of love. There is a place where most human suffering is born. It is not in the present moment. It is in the gap between where you are and where your mind has wandered. When the mind travels backward, it finds regret, replaying what was said, what was done, what could have been different. When it travels forward, it finds anxiety, imagining what might go wrong, rehearsing disasters that have not yet arrived and may never arrive at all. In both directions, the mind suffers, and all the while, the only moment that is real, the present, passes by untouched, unlived. The Buddha did not teach mindfulness as a technique for relaxation, though it does bring peace. He taught it as a path to seeing clearly. When we are fully present, we see things as they actually are, not colored by the past, not distorted by fear of the future. We see a flower as a flower. We see a person as a person, not as a projection of our expectations. This clarity is rare, and it is extraordinarily valuable. You do not need a cushion or a temple to practice this. Presence can be found anywhere, in the feeling of water on your hands as you wash them, in the first sip of tea in the morning, when you slow enough to notice its warmth, its taste, the way it moves through you, in the simple act of breathing, following one breath all the way in and all the way out without rushing toward the next. These are not small things. These are doorways. What keeps us from the present moment is not weakness of character, it is habit. The mind has been trained by years of distraction to leap from one thought to the next without pause. Mindfulness is the gentle, persistent practice of returning. You will wander, every mind does. The practice is in the returning. Each time you notice you have drifted and come back, you have not failed. You have succeeded. That noticing is the whole of the practice. There is a kind of suffering that is entirely self-constructed. It does not come from loss or illness, or the cruelty of others. It comes from a standard we have set for ourselves that no human being could ever meet, the standard of perfection. We imagine a version of ourselves who never makes mistakes, who always says the right thing, who produces flawless work, who is never late, never afraid, never uncertain. And then we measure our actual selves against this imagined figure, and we fall short every time without exception. This is not a path to excellence, it is a path to exhaustion. Perfection is not a destination, it is a mirage. The closer you walk toward it, the further it retreats, and the pursuit of it quietly robs you of something far more valuable, the willingness to begin, to try, to move forward, even when the outcome is uncertain. Many people never start the thing they most want to do in this life because they are waiting until they can do it perfectly. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect preparation, the perfect version of themselves. And the years pass, and the thing remains undone. Purpose is different. Purpose does not ask you to be flawless. It asks you to be aligned, to let your actions flow from your deepest values, from what you genuinely believe matters. When you live with purpose, a mistake is not a verdict on your worth. It is information. It tells you something about where to adjust, where to grow, where to pay closer attention. The person who lives with purpose falls down and rises again, not out of stubbornness, but because they understand that the falling is part of the path. Ask yourself not, did I do this perfectly? Ask instead, did I do this with sincerity? Did I bring my whole self to this moment? Did I act in accordance with what I truly value? These are the questions that build a life. Perfection leaves no room for humanity. Purpose embraces it entirely. There is a word in the Pali language that the Buddha placed at the very heart of his teaching, Anicca. It means impermanence. It means that nothing in this world, no feeling, no circumstance, no relationship, no version of yourself remains unchanged. Everything that arises will pass. Everything that is built will one day crumble. Everything that is full will one day empty. This is not a pessimistic view of life. It is simply an honest one. And the degree to which we resist this truth is the degree to which we suffer. Watch how tightly the human heart clings. We cling to comfort, to familiarity, to the way things used to be. When change arrives, and it always arrives, the first response is often resistance. We say, "This should not be happening." We say, "I want things back the way they were." We exhaust ourselves pushing against a current that will not reverse. And in our exhaustion, we miss what the change has brought with it. Because change does not only take, it also delivers. It clears space. It opens doors that were invisible while the old ones remained shut. Every transition in a human life, the end of a relationship, the loss of a position, the closing of one chapter, carries within it the seed of something new. This does not mean the loss is not real, or that the grief is not valid. It means that loss and growth are not opposites. They move together. The tree that loses its leaves in autumn is not dying. It is preparing. It is conserving, turning inward, making ready for what comes next. You are no different. The practice is to loosen the grip, not to pretend you feel no fear when change arrives, but to meet that fear with curiosity rather than resistance. To ask, what is this transition asking of me? What is it making possible that was not possible before? Who might I become on the other side of this? These questions do not make change easy, but they make it meaningful. And a meaningful life is not one without difficulty. It is one where even difficulty serves the journey. There is a teaching that is sometimes misunderstood in spiritual circles. Because we speak so often of the mind, of consciousness, of the inner life, some come to believe that the body is a lesser concern, a temporary vessel to be tolerated, while we pursue higher understanding. This is a mistake. The Buddha himself learned this lesson through direct experience. He practiced severe austerity for years, denying the body food and rest and care, believing that the path to liberation ran through deprivation, and he discovered that a starved and exhausted body cannot support a clear and open mind. The middle way was born from this understanding. Not excess, not deprivation, but care. Your mind and your body are not two separate things living in uneasy partnership. They are one continuous system, each affecting the other at every moment. When the body is depleted, the mind becomes reactive. Small frustrations grow large. Patience thins. Clarity retreats. When the body is nourished and rested, the mind finds space to breathe. Thoughts move with less turbulence. Emotions settle more quickly. The same circumstance that felt overwhelming yesterday feels manageable today, not because the circumstance changed, but because you slept, you ate well, you moved your body through the world with some measure of care. Meditation is part of this care, not as a performance of spirituality, but as a daily act of maintenance, the way you would clean a room that is lived in, or tend a garden that is growing. Even 10 minutes of stillness, of watching the breath without trying to change it, creates a different quality of mind for the hours that follow. It is an investment that repays itself many times over. Sleep, too, is sacred. In the rush of modern life, sleep is often the first thing sacrificed, treated as laziness, as time stolen from productivity. But the mind that is not rested cannot think with wisdom. It cannot feel with compassion. It cannot act with intention. To protect your sleep is to protect everything that depends upon a clear and steady mind, and everything does. There is a concept in the Buddhist tradition that carries more depth than its simple definition suggests: dana. It is often translated as generosity, as giving, but it is more precise than that. Dana is the act of giving that is completely free of the desire for return, not giving in order to be thanked, not giving in order to be seen as generous, not giving with a quiet ledger in the back of the mind, tracking what has been offered and waiting to see what comes back. Dana is the open hand, extended fully, released completely, with no string attached to what it offers. This kind of giving is rare. Most of what passes for generosity in daily life carries some weight of expectation, however subtle. We give our time and feel quietly resentful when it goes unacknowledged. We offer kindness and feel disappointed when it is not returned in kind. We help someone through difficulty and feel a faint sense of entitlement, a belief that when our own difficulty arrives, they will be there. These feelings are human. They are understandable, but they transform giving into a transaction. And a transaction, however dressed in the language of generosity, is not the same thing as true giving. The paradox of dana is this: the more completely you release the expectation of return, the more richly the act of giving nourishes you. When you give without keeping score, something opens in the chest. A tightness dissolves. You are no longer waiting, no longer calculating. You are simply present in the act itself, and the act itself is its own fullness. The joy is in the giving, not in what the giving might one day produce. This does not require grand gestures. The size of the gift has never been the measure of its worth. a moment of genuine attention offered to someone who feels invisible, a word of encouragement given to someone who has lost their footing, patience extended to someone who is struggling. These are acts of dana, small in form, but vast in their quiet power to change the texture of a life, both theirs and, without seeking it, your own. We live in an age that has declared war on waiting. Everything is designed to arrive faster, to load quicker, to respond in an instant, and so the capacity for patience, the ability to remain steady when things do not move at the speed we desire, has quietly atrophied in many people. We feel it as a kind of inner friction, a tightening when the line moves slowly, when the answer does not come, when the result we work toward refuses to appear on our schedule. This friction is not a small thing. Multiplied across a day, across a week, across a life, it becomes a source of chronic suffering that most people never think to examine. Patience is not passivity. This is perhaps the most important distinction to make. The patient person is not someone who has given up caring about outcomes. They are someone who has learned to remain present and clear-eyed while outcomes unfold in their own time. They continue to act, to work, to move forward, but without the desperate grasping that turns effort into anguish. They understand that most things of genuine value do not arrive quickly. A tree does not grow because you pull at its branches. It grows because the conditions are right, and sufficient time is allowed to pass. Acceptance works alongside patience in this way, and acceptance, too, is widely misunderstood. People hear the word and imagine surrender, a kind of defeated shrug in the face of difficulty. But true acceptance is nothing like surrender. It is an act of clear seeing. It means looking at what is actually present, not what you wish were present, not what you fear might be present, but what is genuinely, honestly here. From that place of clarity, wise action becomes possible. From resistance, only reaction is possible. When a setback arrives, and setbacks will always arrive, the untrained mind reacts immediately. It fights, it panics, it assigns blame, it catastrophizes. The mind that has been cultivated in patience and acceptance does something different. It pauses, it breathes, it asks, what is actually happening here, and what is the wisest response available to me in this moment? That pause, small as it seems, is the difference between a life lived at the mercy of circumstances and a life lived with quiet, unshakable dignity. This is the final secret, and in many ways, it holds all the others together. A happy and balanced life is not built in the grand moments. It is built in the pauses, in the 10,000 small choices to remain calm, to see clearly, and to move forward with an open and accepting heart. You have now received 8 secrets, but receiving is only the beginning. Wisdom that remains in the mind, as an idea changes nothing. It is wisdom carried into action, however imperfectly, however gradually, that transforms a life. So before you move on with your day, I want to offer you something concrete to carry with you. Begin with gratitude. Tonight before you sleep, write down 3 things from this day for which you are genuinely thankful. Not grand things, simple things. Do this for 7 days without missing a single night, and notice what begins to shift in the way you see your mornings. Choose one relationship this week to show up for more fully. Put the phone down. Ask a deeper question. Listen without preparing your response. Let someone feel that they are truly seen by you. Notice what that does, not only for them, but for you. And finally, once each day, stop. Not for long. 1 minute is enough. Feel your feet on the ground. Follow 3 full breaths from beginning to end. Return to the present moment, which is the only place your life is actually happening. These are not dramatic gestures, but a happy and balanced life is not built through dramatic gestures. It is built through small, sincere, repeated acts of intention, day after day, breath after breath. That is the path. If this video brought you something of value, please take a moment to like it and share it with someone in your life who may need these words today. Leave a comment below telling me which of these 8 secrets resonates with you most deeply. I read every one, and if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do so now, and click the bell icon so you will be notified the moment a new video is released. There is much more to come. Until then, walk gently, see clearly, and take good care of the life you have been given.